Welcome to John McGivern's Main Streets, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of this popular TV program.
Sometimes I think my job is so hard.
You'll hear John and his producer Lois Maurer on the drive home as they chat about their impressions of the community and share interesting stories that you may not hear about anywhere else. Today's episode, LeClaire, Iowa.
Let's talk about what this town is known for, which is, of course, antique archaeology. So let's start there, because that's kind of like the reason a lot of people show up in this town.
If you don't watch American Pickers on the History Channel, would you know it? Like, is the brand even wider now?
Oh, I think it is. I think if you say American Pickers, people know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Emily has been around there for 10, 11 years. So she really knew it all. Right. And it was interesting to me because when we got there, she was camera ready with every answer because she
has done this a few times.
Yeah, she has done this a few times.
Well, she even knew the moleskin tape that I used when I put the mic on her. So it's like, yeah, she's
done a little bit of TV,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I will say when we set this episode up, though, I was so hopeful because at first they said, I think Mike's going to be in town during that week, Mike Wolf. Yeah. And then when it got closer to all the planning and everything else, no, he's not going to be there. So I was disappointed that we didn't get him. And then we met Emily and I wasn't that disappointed anymore because I loved One-Eyed Jack.
Which is not her husband, just so you know. One-Eyed Jack is her little dog who reminds me, I think it was a Jack Russell mix, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it was a mix.
Yeah.
A little bit like Wishbone. He looks like the Wishbone dog, except poor One-Eyed Jack only has one eye. Tugfest, yes, Matt Taney.
Tugfest, that guy was great. And the fact that they have a rope that goes from Iowa to Illinois, and they've got just 20 people who are completely committed to winning the tug of war.
But you have to admit, you have to be a little disappointed that they don't actually pull each other into the river.
Yeah.
Because I was really thinking I'm going to know how you lost because you're going to be soaked from head to toe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish that we would have been here in August because doesn't that sound like a really fun thing to capture?
Yeah, but not a fun thing to do. I mean...
Oh, that's true. I mean, from a production standpoint, it would be a nightmare, right? Truth. That is the truth.
No, I meant
She meant as a tugger.
No, I meant to be a tugger.
Right.
I thought I meant to produce a television show about a tugger.
No, that would have been fine. That would have been fine. It was when he was describing, and then I think Ryan had mentioned that he had done it once and then tore something that took 3 months to heal afterwards. I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, so what was the most surprising thing about the Mississippi River Distilling Company to you? I wonder if it was the same thing that surprised me.
What was the most what?
Surprising. Like when we walked through that door, when he said we're bottling.
This is what was surprising to me.
Yeah.
The fact that those people who were bottling were drinking as fast as the bottles came off. These people were drinking. One had a little ice cube in there.
Okay, but they were quality testing. You have to have quality testers, I'm sure.
The one was quality napping.
No, when he said, the thing that was surprising to me was he said we're bottling. I thought there was going to be like a lie. I guess we've been to enough breweries to think it was going to be like chink, chink, and the thing came on, and the lid went on, and it goes down the line.
And the rollers.
That's what I was thinking. We walked into that room, and there was literally like a dozen people sitting around a table who were like putting labels and I was like, I thought it was a card club. Like, what's going on here?
Those two guys at the end, though, who were sitting down.
Oh, my God, they were funny.
Oh, Lord. And they turned out they're volunteers.
But Ryan was such a good interview. And I have so much respect for people like that because he didn't know a darn thing about that business. And look at the size of it. Look at the success of it.
And after that, where did we go? Did we go to the riverboat then?
The riverboat.
Riverboat Twilight, which was...
Oh, man, that feels like a week ago, but that was so great.
Carrie and Kevin?
Yes, Captain Kevin and his wife, Carrie. They met back when he was a deckhand and she worked in the ticket office. and that's where they met. And then they got married and they bought the business.
And they got a few people to be on the boat as pseudo guests, right? Because when I call people up and I say, so, we want to go on the boat, it would be great if there was other people on the boat, but I don't actually want it to be a real public tour because then we feel like we're in the way.
The Captain Kevin sure knew his stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
was so kind about sharing it, and was almost like he kept apologizing for talking.
I couldn't have a better job because I like it and I like the people that I meet.
Is this second nature, what you're doing?
I think it is. I know I could parallel park this better than I could my pickup truck. When you ride the boat, you come away from it, and I probably can't describe it, but when people get off the boat, they've had an experience like no other that they can even think of, because it takes you back in time.
I think Kevin in particular doesn't realize how interesting he is. And he was fascinating. Everything he talked about was interesting to us. Because to him, that's his business. He's like, oh, I know this. It's no big deal. And we're like, you got to be kidding. This is what's involved in being a riverboat pilot. It's amazing. The Buffalo Bill Museum, we had really good volunteers who helped us there. And Bob Schiffke and Connie were kind enough to open up the museum to us before it opened. But boy, that thing is packed full, you think? I was like, what do you look at first?
So
but that museum had a lot more than just Buffalo Bill in it. That boat was kind of... No, so tell me the story about the Lone Star. It was the last wooden
tug.
Steamer
tug, right?
It was an actual steamship too, right?
Right.
Yeah. They raised $1 million in fundraising to put a house around it, because they used to sit there and the weather was decomposing this thing to where they needed help.
When you go to places like that and you walk around those boats, can you see yourself doing that job, John?
Doing what?
Like being a riverboat guy? If you lived in the 1860s or 70s?
Yeah, no, Lois. No, I would still be a TV host. I'm not sure. Maybe I'd be a good rapids guy. Maybe I'd be a good river pilot. I love driving stuff, and I think. And they had a good living. You look at those river pilot houses, because the reason they needed river pilots in LeClaire was the fact that that's where the Mississippi turned to the west, and it was right at the head of these rapids that people didn't know how to operate.
Want to wear something that's going to support your favorite show? Shop at Main Street Store. Proceeds go to help us get next season into production. So come on, go shopping at mainstreets.tv.
And the I-80 bridge story starts with the fact that the I-80 bridge has to be replaced. We just drove over it, so I'm hoping it's still sound for a little while, but it's going to come down, and it's going to not be used anymore, I should say. And so rather than having it torn out by the DOT or something like that, this community has come up with a plan. And so Lynn Hunt over at Visit Quad Cities was telling us all about it. And so summarize it, John. What is the Bison Bridge going to look like someday, we hope?
We have to understand that on the Illinois side of that bridge, there's 100 acres of prairie land. So, it's like a park on the other side of that, on the Illinois side.
It's already there, right?
It's already there.
Yeah.
So what they want to do is turn the east going I-80, the
lanes.
The east lanes, they want to turn into a pedestrian and a bikeway and a jogging, that's what it would be used for. And the west side, they want to turn it into a bison grazing patch. So there would be a herd of bison on these 110 acres of land, and that land would include what is now Interstate 80, the west end that goes across the Mississippi River.
Yeah, instead of tearing that bridge down, reutilizing it
for something totally different. And when I first heard that story, I thought, that sounds really wacky. Doesn't it sound crazy wacky?
Yeah.
And then when you think about the tourist attraction that would become,
Right.
I kind of think it's brilliant.
And that was great that Lynn, who took her time.
Poor Lynn. Okay, Lynn took
Lois.
Lynn
Poor
took
Lynn.
a
You
lot
didn't
more
think poor
time.
Lynn when you kidnapped her and tied her to the back of our
And she's in a skirt and heels.
in skirt
All
and
right.
heels.
And would you please explain what you're talking about?
Oh my Lord. You explain it. You're the one that I was like,
Okay,
oh
no.
my Lord.
We needed a vantage point that had the I-80 bridge in the background. And we were on the wrong side of the bridge. We were facing west. It was later in the day. We needed to be facing the other direction so the sun would be
for lighting.
right. So that the sun would be on the bridge and on their faces. So we had to go to the opposite side of the bridge. And Lynn lives there, right? She lives there, and we were like, "Is there a vantage point over there?" She said, "Yeah, follow me." So that was not me, John. That was not me.
No.
We were
It's one
practically
thing to
in
say, no,
Kansas
this
City.
is
I don't know.
no, this isn't going to work because we're too far away from the bridge. But the fact is that she made the mistake of bringing us to another place, which was Lock 14, which then we stayed for an hour and a half. Oh my God.
And then she ended up having to go into the office of the Army Corps of Engineers to ask if we could go out and shoot the lock.
We were climbing hills.
She was in her heels, and John felt really bad. But I asked her, John, she was fine with it. She said she was fine with it.
You just
You just think that. No.
But we had our 2 restaurants today.
Yes.
That's what we had.
Yep. We went to the Faithful Pilot.
The owner is also the chef. And he was a character, wasn't he?
And wasn't he impressive? I mean,
Robert.
honestly, he was really impressive.
So to be a chef is one thing, to be a chef owner is really a whole other kind of...
It is. The chefs don't really care to do paperwork, and you're kind of forced into that.
Isn't it like guys like you that set trends?
Try. The last probably 6 years has been our transition from being white linen tablecloth, fine dining, to something more casual. We've really expanded our wine program, live music that the restaurant didn't have, 6-7 years ago.
And then we went over to the Crane and Pelican, which is owned by Mandy. So she's the owner-operator, not the chef.
But I think, did she used to be the chef, or did she just
No,
like
she
to
used to
cook?
be a bartender.
Oh, she was a bartender in LeClaire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she worked restaurants, but behind the bar. Restaurant bars, because I said, why didn't you just open up a bar then?
Right.
Um,
But it's smart of her, because the house that Crane and Pelican is in, which is another River Pilot house, beautiful house, hey? And it adapts itself well to
Yeah, it's
what
beautiful.
she's doing. You could tell there's certain people in communities that are kind of fibrous, right, to what they're doing and the effort that they have going. And you could tell Robert was that. But, so was Rodney at Grasshoppers, and so is Mandy at Crane and Pelican. And I think we met the people, and Ryan at the distillery, right? I mean, I think we met some really movers and shakers.
Well, it was fun, you guys. And Gail, I am so happy that, the 3 of us are in this van, and the 3 of us have worked together for the last 10 years. So it's so great that we're back together.
Curious to find out where John is traveling next? Head over to our website, mainstreets.tv, to learn more. Again, that's mainstreets.tv. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and please leave us a review. It helps more people discover great programming like Main Streets. Look for us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram to follow all the action. John McGivern's Main Streets is produced by Plum Media in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thanks for listening.